Okay, it's time to fit the router section of our multi-function workbench. So let's jump in and do it. What's happening, everyone? Welcome back to the workshop. Now in this video we're going to be doing the router section of this multi-function worktop. So the MFT top is complete. We know it's all good and square. We did all our tests and it's happy days there and it's working beautifully. So I want to add a router section to this end of it now. This whole bench, the idea of this bench is to incorporate a lot of things and a lot of storage so we can free up some space in the workshop and have everything in a central location. So it's going to be an MFT table, router table, downdraft table. It'll be my main assembly table and a storage area. So this is the router section. Now I have some parts here that I've just ordered. They've just arrived. So we have a fence, we have T-tracks and all that stuff to do. It'll be a quick and easy install. It's not going to be too much of this video, but I'll take you through it. I'll show you all the materials I've got. You will have seen me install the router lift already in a previous video on my other workbench, so I didn't cover that, but I'll just run through it very, very quickly again. So if you want to see how to actually install this router lift, it's very, very easy. I have a video installing this actual lift into a router table. So let's jump in. Let me take you through all the stuff that I've got and we'll get a close-up. Let's do it. Okay guys, so the router lift is already in place. Like I said, I've just installed this in a not so long ago video. A few videos back you would have seen me put this on the table, so I didn't record it again. It's a nice and simple process. This is actually the Souter Router Lift Mini. This was sent to me by Souter. So was the router that you're going to see in this video, as I explained in a previous video. Everything else in this video I bought and paid for myself. I ordered it from Souter. So Souter are a German company. They're looking to spread more into the English market across Europe and stuff, and into Ireland, and they set up souter.com. I'll link it below so you can see all this stuff. Now they're not paying me, this is not sponsored. I can say whatever I like about this stuff, and most of it I bought with my own money anyway, but this was sent to me, so just to let you know that. Like I said, they've set up an English website now, so souter.com, so definitely check it out. They have all the parts for you to build a DIY router table on there. They actually have some fantastic stuff, some really nice tops. They have all the aluminum extrusions. They have everything you need to build a bespoke, I suppose, router table to any spec that you want. And this is an absolutely beautifully engineered piece. It is a premium piece. It's not cheap, but when you compare it to similarly spec'd router lifts, then it is priced in and around the same as those. But I have been using this, and it's precision engineering. The adjustments on it are to the 10th of a millimeter. They're absolutely fantastic. I'll give you a close-up of it in a second. But it's in place, nice and easy. So in the previous video, you would have seen me do it. I just built a template, put down your template, and just set your depth and route it around. Very, very easy. So when you're building your template, use the router lift itself. Just build the template around it like that. Nice and easy. Screw it together, and you'll have it routed out in about 10 minutes. Cut out your opening for it and you are good to go. So one thing I did buy this time around was this flange plate, or I suppose it's almost like a gasket, but it's not functioning like a gasket. It's just a metal plate that sits underneath either the router inserts, like the tabletops, or the router lifts themselves. It's for if you're going into softer material. So MDF can be kind of a softer material. So when you're putting your adjustment screws in, this just gives the adjustment screws something to press against, so it's not actually biting into the MDF top. So it's a nice little adjustment. Again, I ordered that in this kit. So that's the router lift in place, nice and easy. That just sits in there like that. Okay, so very quickly guys, to give you a quick close-up on this router lift again. So it's nice and easy to install. We have 4 6mm bolts that go in either side with some lock nuts, and then you have your adjustment screws, your grub screws for leveling it up. You would have seen me do that before, so I won't go too far into that. It's nice and easy. I'll get all this set up now, and then we'll get on to the rest of the table. But it's very quickly to go through the top again. It's a beautiful piece of anodized aluminum. The screw in it is exact, so the adjustments are a 10th of a millimeter. So each adjustment is 1/10 of a millimeter. So the large hash marks, every quarter turn is 1 millimeter. Then you have the next largest hash mark, which is 1/2 millimeter, and these are 10ths of millimeters. And it is to the 10th of a millimeter. It is precise. I've checked it with the verniers and everything, and it's so easy to just make an adjustment. The screw feels extremely positive. When you have it adjusted to the height you want, just lock it in place, nice and easy, nothing moves. If you need that extra bit of stability, no problem. But I have to say, when they say it's 10th of a millimeter, it is a 10th of a millimeter. It's precision made. The hash marks on the side are exactly accurate as well, so these are again, all in millimeters. The last hash mark here lines up exactly to the center of the spindle, so it's very, very easy to set your fence up to whatever you need going by these hash marks on the side. Again, it's all in millimeters, so each large one is the 10 millimeter. You have the half 5 millimeter hash marks, and then the individual millimeter hash marks. And when you line up either side, that puts you dead center of your spindle, so it's very, very nice. The steel insert plates are also great. They're held on by really powerful magnets. It's perfectly flush and it's extremely solid. It's a nice piece of steel. Like I say, everything about it is precision engineered, and I know it's a premium product and it's aimed towards the professional user, but when you want precision, when you're I suppose when you're being paid to be precise in your work, you need precision tools, especially for the professional end of things. And this is a beautiful piece, which is why I went and bought some more Souter gear myself, because I was really impressed with how well engineered this is. Now, like I said, it was sent to me, but I'm not being paid to say anything. I can say anything I want about this. I'm under no obligation, but yeah, I really like it. So that's the router lift itself. Let's get on to the rest of the gear that I bought. I should just point out this little blip here. I'm sure all you guys will have noticed. So the router did just skip on me and I took a little notch out of here. It's not going to be too big a deal, but funnily enough, I have a notch in the similar place on my previous router table as well. So at least when I make mistakes, I'm consistent. Right guys, I have the router lift fully installed now and everything is perfectly level. So it's worth spending a bit of time doing this and getting that right till you're 100% happy with it, because you want this to be exact and you want it to be precise. So it is there now. It's very easy just with the 4 grub screws to adjust it and level everything up, and that plate underneath so the grub screws don't bite into the MFT top is nice. Now let's get on with the rest of the stuff. So I bought this, I ordered this from Souter again. So this is the Souter T-Track. They sell this as part of a kit. I think there's 3 different sizes. I think there's 800 millimeter. There's a 1 meter and 1.2 meter. Now check on the site yourselves, because I do get things a little bit wrong from time to time, but this is the 1.2 meter track. It comes as part of a kit, so you get 3 pieces of track. You get the router bit for routing in your track. It's the exact same size as the track. You get a countersink bit then for when you drill your holes in your track for your screws, and you get the bag of screws. Now the track itself, just checking with the verniers, it is 13 millimeters on the inside of the track. Exactly, and 17 millimeters to the outside of the track. So that's the dimensions of the Souter track, and it's bang on 17 millimeters. And that's a 17 millimeter router bit, so for fitting it in place. Now it takes, like I said, the nuts with a 13 mil width head on them. You can slide them in no problem. So that's what we're going to be doing, because we're going to be using it with the fence. So that's the track, nice and simple, not much to that. So we're going to get that installed. I'll show you the fence now. Let's have a look at that. Okay guys, so on to the business end. This is the fence itself. Now this is made by Souter. It's their own brand product. I bought this myself. It seems to be really nicely made. It's a nice big heavy piece of aluminium extrusion. It's a nice bit of weight to it. The adjustments are nice and easy on it. Everything seems to be precision engineered. So you get what you get with a lot of fences. You have a T-slot on the face of it. You have a T-slot on the top. 57 mil port here for your dust extraction, so you need to get an adapter for that. Nice and easy to adjust and open the fence. Everything seems to be bang on square, so just checking everything is exactly square, so that's good, no issues there. The melamine or the Sacrificial fence, it's just melamine faced MDF, and that seems to line up perfect, so it's not catching. Everything is nice and good and perfectly flat across the front, so everything seems accurate with it, no complaints there. The only issue I have is it doesn't come with any washers for inside in the holes here. The screws for fixing the Sacrificial fence on, the screw holes aren't too much smaller than the diameter of the actual head, so I would like to put a washer in there, which is exactly what I'm going to do, but I'd like if that came part of the kit just to support that head when you're tightening into MDF. Like I say, the hole it's a couple of mils smaller than the actual head of the bolt, and you know yourself, tightening bolts into MDF without a support on them is not really a good idea in my book. That's my only gripe, but other than that, it seems to be precision made, just like the router lift. Everything seems to be exact, flat, square and true, so that's all you can ask for really, and nice and easy, like I said, to put together. And yeah, fairly simple router fence that's really nicely made. Okay guys, very quickly then, I just got some featherboards again. I got these from Souter.com. Nice and simple, but the nice thing about these is they're actually stackable, so you get a piece that goes in the middle of them. Like I say, it's by Miles Craft. They're fairly heavy duty, nice big solid featherboard, so good and strong. And you have a spacer, like I say, that you can take out use them like that, or if you're doing larger material, put in your spacer, you screw them together, and you can hold nice big flat pieces against your fence. Or if you're doing larger pieces, like I say, you're holding it top and bottom, so you're ensuring that you're keeping it nice and flat against your fence. Just a nice little option that they come with, and you can break them apart, and you have 2 feather boards. You get all the fixers and fittings with them, and then you get the various size. These are for sliding into the T-track, so you have all the different sizes depending on whether you're using it, like say, with your either your bandsaw, your table saw, or anything like that. You will have an attachment to fit into all the different type T-slots or T-tracks. So yeah, there you go. That's by Miles Craft. So I'll give you an update on them when I get using them. Haven't used them yet. So let's crack on now. That's all the stuff I bought. I'm probably boring you guys to tears. So let's get this stuff installed into the table. Okay guys, time to get the T-tracks in place. Now there's not a whole lot to this. It's just to get everything lined up, everything perfectly square, get it all clamped down and get it routed in. It's going to be nice, quick and simple. So this is 1.2 meter track, so it's 20 mil shorter than the actual width of my MDF top. Now, that's going to work in my favor. I'm going to route from one end of the top to the other straight through. I want to leave an opening at either end of my track for the simple reason I want to be able to slide these bolts or any kind of bolt that I want to use if I want to make my own jigs or whatever. I want to be able to drop that into the track. And obviously you can't drop a bolt straight through your track, so you need an open end to get your nut in. So with my tracks that are going up and down the table and my tracks that are going horizontally across the table, I'm going to leave open ends on either end of the track. So I'm going to continue routing past longer than the track that I'm putting in so that I can drop my nut down into the slot and slide that into my track. If that makes sense, it will now in a minute. So let's get this guy set up to exactly where you want and we can mark him out. So I'm going to stay about 25 millimeters off my router table is where I want to line this guy up. Right there. And there, that's good. So again, I'm keeping it dead square to my actual router lift. Then we can just mark that in. I'm going to be routing from one end to the other. So I'm just going to roughly mark it in. And we can set up a router on the track to do this. Nice and easy. So there we go. Let's get this one routed in. Right guys, we're all set up to make our cut to route in our T-slot. So I have my track set up and I have that Bosch attachment for the track. It's actually fantastic for doing jobs like this, makes it so easy. Now, I have to use this router that I vowed I would never ever use again. This is a Draper Stormforce. It is absolutely horrendous piece of kit, but it's the only one I have with an 8mm collet, and the bit that came with this set was an 8mm shaft. So I have to use this. Now, let me make a wider point about cheap tools, if you guys will indulge me for a second. Okay guys, I'm going to go on a bit of a cheap tool rant here now, if you'll be so kind as to indulge me. When it comes to cheap tools, don't buy them. They're a false economy, they will inevitably break and they cost you more money in the long run, and it's very, very difficult to be precise with them. Such is the case with this Draper Stormforce. It's a very cheap router. I had it a week and the locking mechanism on it broke in less than a week. Absolutely no good. Now, one unique thing that I have kind of noticed about the woodworking community is that carpentry work and furniture making and everything that's kind of comes under the umbrella of woodworking is kind of unique amongst the trades insofar as it has an entire hobbyist section to it. So there's the professional guys, the professional tradesmen and women out there, and then there's the whole hobbyist community. That doesn't exist for any other trade. So I'm a professional electrician, I'm a hobbyist woodworker. There's no such thing as a hobbyist electrician. It just wouldn't happen. It can't happen. It's completely illegal in Ireland for one thing. If you're not a registered electrical contractor, you can't do any electrical work. You will get arrested and fined and put in jail. So you have to be fully registered, fully insured, fully trained and fully certified. But like I say, the woodworking community has a whole hobbyist section, and that kind of throws up some interesting debates in the comment sections. I notice when guys on YouTube are using professional quality tools because they're actually professional woodworkers, so they're using the likes of Festool and Bosch and Makita, and they're using Line-Nielsen hand planes or Veritas hand planes. See, people seem to get upset about the price of the tools, but professional quality tools are priced for a reason. They are highly accurate, they're lifetime tools, they don't break, and they're ultimately dependable. So Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I watched the comment section. So like some people will comment about this Souter router lift. I have no doubt about the price of it. But again, it's aimed towards the professional user. I would never walk onto any electrical job that I do without professional tools. So I only buy Nipex. They are bloody expensive, but I've had them for years. And like I say, all my tools are professional quality. So I service pharmaceutical industries. I can walk on to a pharmaceutical job if there's a breakdown. They could have £2.5 million worth of product in the line in some of the pharmaceutical places. And if I walked on site with Amazon Basic Tools, it just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense then for the professional woodworker to buy cheap tools. If they are working on something that's a couple of €1,000, a couple of £1,000 worth of furniture that they need to sell at the end of it, it has to be precise. They can't make mistakes and their tools cannot break. So that's why they use them. That's why people spend good money on their tools. Good tools for the professional user don't cost money. They make money. That's an important thing to remember. And even for the hobbyist guys, the grandfather's advice that he gave me, he said, when it comes to buying tools, buy once and buy good. Now I know it's hard to fork out for your hobby, but when it comes to tools like this, just stay away from them. Get yourself some premium quality tools if you can. Save up, spend the extra few pound. It's worth it in the long run. It's a tool for life. It's a tool that won't let you down, and it's a tool that will be accurate, especially if you're building something really nice and your tool fails and you take a big chunk out of your material. There's nothing more demoralizing than that. So that's my rant. That's why some tools cost what they cost, and I understand the unique situation of woodworking where it has a whole hobbyist section and hobbyists can't afford to be buying professional end tools. But when it comes to tools, guys, spend the extra bit of money, get yourself some good tools, and stay away from the real cheap stuff, because cheap stuff is cheap for a reason. Now that's my rant over. Let's get on and finish this router table. Okay, so we're all set up to make this cut. And like I say, this thing is an absolute disaster to use. I have to use it in reverse here because I have to lock my tray on this, or my track on this way, so I can get my clamps in. And it's a little bit awkward. And like I say, the locking mechanism is broken, so you can't actually lock the plunge, which is kind of very, very annoying. But I have the depth stop set. Again, it's a bit of a comedy depth stop. It's it's terrible. But yeah, we're going to try and be as precise as we can with this crap tool. Let's get on it and do it. I'm just going to grab a dust mask, because as you can see, the dust port doesn't work. Okay guys, I have the slot cut. Now just to really hammer this point home about cheap tools, the spindle in this wonders slightly. So you can see it fits perfectly in some places and it's really tight in other places. And if you run your finger along the edge of this, you can feel humps and hollows. It's not perfectly straight. Even though I'm on a perfectly straight piece of track, everything is set up nicely, the spindle wanders and vibrates in cheap routers, so you don't get a perfect edge. Now, if you're working on a really expensive piece of furniture and you do something like that, that's a disaster. So I'm going to have to run this another pass again, cut this slightly deeper, just so I can fit this in, because it's squeezing the track in some places and not in others, and yeah, that's no good. So, and you can also see the comedy type dust extraction that's on that router. Not only are they not accurate, they're also not good for your health. So again, buy once, buy good. Okay guys, our T-track is routed in. That's nice and flush, and you can see now it's moving nicely in there, so the track is not getting compressed at any point and it's not being deformed. Again, that took 2 passes to do that correctly. So you can see how you could introduce error by having to do it twice, by taking the track off, setting it back up again. That spindle vibrating doesn't give you a perfect clean edge. You can see it along the edge of the track. It's not perfectly straight. But however, it would work absolutely perfectly fine for this. But yeah, stay away from cheap tools is my point. And I'm going to stop ranting about that now. So I have to drill a few holes in this for my screws. So I have them just marked out evenly. So 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 holes, or 5 screws I'm going to put into this. So just in case I drill them, I use the countersink bit to countersink the screws and put them down. And we have a center line in the track, so you can line your drill bit right up to the center line and just drill it out. So let's do that. There we go, perfect. So I'll get on and do the rest of them exactly like that. Okay guys, our bottom T-track is in place now. The screws are countersunk, screwed down, everything is nice, sitting flush, and I'm pretty happy with that. So now we want to get our ones that run parallel up the table for our fence in place. So it's kind of hard to see the pencil marks here, so I'll just explain it. I've measured the dead center of my router lift. I've used my framing square end just to square a line up here, and then measuring left and right of that, I came out 290 millimeters. So flip my fence around, the dead center of my fence is here, so that's on that center line, and then I measured the exact center of my slot, so that'll give me the most range of movement left and right, if I ever need to move the fence left and right, but I don't think I ever will. So it's going to run dead center with my router lift. So there we go, that's how we did that. So I squared the line up there and squared the line up there. Here's our two slots now, which are cut to go here and here for our fence to fix to. And then the measurement I came down, just get your fence, run it down past where it needs to go. So I'm going well in over my router bit here now. So that's past where the track actually, or where the fence actually needs to be. So that's where I'm going to stop my track. So there's plenty of adjustment. And like I say, I'm going to continue on off the end of each track so that I can just take my fence, slide it back, and just lift it off. That's going to be the plan without having to undo the screws, because when I'm using this as an assembly table, I want that fence to be removable. So I'm going to continue on a little bit longer either end than my track, so I can slide it either way and just lift the fence off. So let's get on now and set up our track and route in these guys. Okay guys, all our T-tracks are now in place. That worked out nicely. So I've left a good gap on the end of both of these because I want to be able to slide my fence back and lift it off without having to take off my nuts. And I want to be able to get nuts and things into my T-track should I ever need to, so I can slide it back and take it out. So it's important just to leave a gap at the end of your T-tracks so you can actually get your fixings down into the T-track. So you don't want to cut them flush right at the end. Like I say, you can't get that down into it. So let's get this on and get it assembled now. So lovely. So that should allow my track to slide up and down there. Lovely. And then if I want to remove it, I can just take it off. Drop them down like so. Slide up my track. Absolutely perfect. And then I can lock my track in place. And that's good and solid. Nice. Right guys, so there we go. All our T-tracks are in and our fence is in place and it works absolutely perfectly. It's easy to slide it back and just lift that straight out of there. Line up your nuts and slide them into your T-track and lock your fence down. Perfect. So I can turn this back into an assembly table, and I can, if I'm cutting large sheets on the MFT table, I can just pop off my router fence and it's a nice flat table once again. So that's absolutely perfect. Happy days. Now I want to get the router into this and I want to put on the NVR switch. I am going to be putting a full electrical installation into this bench. I haven't decided what way I'm going to line it out yet, whether I come across the floor or whether I come from overhead. So we're going to see. I'm also going to put some dust extraction into this bench. But for now, I'm just going to put on the MVR switch. It'll probably be a temporary mount and we'll get the router in so it's up and it's operational. Now, you would have seen this router. Again, this was sent to me by Souter. This is like that kind of party piece router. It's made by Mafell. It's a serious bit of kit. It's a toolless chuck, so you just use 8mm router bits. Up the handle, slot it in, lock it down, that's it. That's the bit in, locked in place. Extremely easy to change bits. It's ideal, I suppose, for a CNC machine and for router tables. You can also get the adapter. This is the chuck for it, and you can put any size collet you want in there for all the metric and all the imperial sizes. And it really it also gets down to the extremely fine engraving bits. So if you're ever using a CNC machine, if I ever do get my hands on a CNC machine, I'll definitely be fitting this router to it because it's perfect for that. And like I say, with those really small engraving bits, you can do some really fine work And it's a powerful, well-made bit of kit too. So let's get that into the table now, nice and easy. It's only 4 bolts, and we'll fit the NVR switch. Okay guys, the NVR switch is in place. Now it's in there temporarily. I have to sort out all the electrics on this bench, which I'll do in an upcoming video. So once I plan it out and see what way I'm going to do it, we'll finalize all the electrical system that's going to go onto this bench. Now, in a previous video, I told you about NVR switches. NVR stands for no volt release. So if I unplug this switch from the wall, the contact will drop out. If the power goes out, the contact will drop out. So it's an energized contact. And you need that if you're going to use your router permanently in place on your router table, because you'll be leaving your router switched on at its switch, and you will be operating it then from the no volt release switch, which has a start button here, and you have an emergency stop in case anything ever goes wrong. And if you kill the power, like I say, that contact will open regardless whether you hit the stop button or not. Once this loses power, it opens, so that if the power ever came back on, the router doesn't start up, and that would be dangerous if that was the case. So NVR stands for no volt release. When there's no voltage present, the contact opens. So if you plug it out or if the power dies, the contact breaks, as well as breaking it with the stop button. So that's all it is. Just make sure that the router can never come on and surprise you. So it's an extra safety device, very important to fit them to your router tables. So that's it, let's crack on. Okay guys, just a quick look under the bench then. So I've added 2 brace pieces just to support the top, because you take a big section out with your router lift, and just to prevent any sagging in the MDF, I've just added the 2 of them for a bit of support. So you can see the router is attached there now. I'll be leaving it switched on with the switch, and the NVR switch will operate it. And then you have this handle. All you do is got to pull that up to there to release your bit. So it makes bit changing extremely easy. So that's the underside of the bench with the router lift in place. Okay guys, the router table section is just about done. Obviously we have stuff we need to do underneath and get all that finished when we build our cabinets and stuff later on. But for now, the router top stuff is done. I'm really happy with how this has turned out. It's going to be a great addition to the shop, having a nice big large router table that I can use here on this multifunction bench. So everything's in place. Featherboards are now on. They work beautifully in the T-tracks. The fence is working beautifully, so it's nice and smooth to slide up and down. Again, these hash marks on this router lift are great to reference your fence off. It's nice and easy to square up your fence and to get precise adjustments on it. Now, a router fence does not have to be square to the router lift, because this is a round bit and it's spinning in a circle. So no matter what way you run across your fence, you're always going to get a straight cut in your piece. So yeah, it doesn't have to be square, but it's nice to keep everything square and precise. It's just good practice. So the featherboards, like I say, nice and easy to adjust and run up and down wherever I need them. So that's great. And again, if you're doing what I'm doing here and you're running, you're putting an edge banding around to protect the MFT top, just remember to leave a gap at either end of your track so that you can actually take your pieces out. So you can take the T-bolts out at the end of this, or any nuts that you have in it, and that's really important to slide them off. And again, when it comes to the fence, make sure that you leave a gap at the back of your T-tracks in order to take your fence off, or to put any other T-nuts or bolts down into the side, and that you're going to have a gap at the end, because your T-tracks are in the middle of your table and you can't get to either end of them. Likewise with this track here. So yeah, that's it guys. It's working nice, and I'm pretty happy with it. Again, beautiful top to use, beautiful smooth action on that screw. It's a really nicely precise piece of engineering, and the adjustments are 1/10 of a millimeter, which is great. And again, bit changes couldn't be simpler. So when you catch the handle, lift out the bit, there we go, put in your new bit, lock it back in, and adjust your height to whatever you want. So really nice system. So that's it, there's the router table done. Now, we have one more thing. See, now that we're routing and I have the routers and everything set up, we need to put a sacrificial piece in our MFT table. So let's jump on and do that. Okay guys, now that the router end of things is taken care of, for now I want to add in a sacrificial strip to this MFT top. So what we're going to do is cut in a straight line in the middle of this. Now I've already put a cut into my bench, you can see here. That's where I've been cutting pieces. This is the most comfortable place to do the cuts. It's the center of the bench. It just feels the most natural. So I reckon this is where most of my cutting is going to take place. So I want to be able to cut into my top. So I'm going to do, like I said, is put a sacrificial piece in here. Now, we need to put a straight line down here. I'm going to set up the track again and use my router to route this out. We're going to cut in a piece of 12mm or 1/2 inch MDF. This is an inch, so it'll be half the thickness of this, and we can just slide that piece in and out, and we can replace it whenever we need to. So in order to get a straight line down both sides, what I'm going to use is the power guide system yet again. So I'm going to line that up using the dogs, just like that. and I can draw a line straight down there and do the same on this side. So just flip it around, line up my two dogs and use this as my straight edge. Do the same on the far end then, and we'll just join up those two lines. It couldn't be easier. Just like that. Okay guys, there we go. That is the Sacrificial strip routed out there. So it's exactly 12 millimeters. It is 55 mil exactly in thickness. It's perfectly parallel. I just went ahead and cut a 55 mil strip here. So that will slot perfectly in there, and it's a good, snug, perfect fit. Now I've also just went ahead and put a brace piece directly underneath this Sacrificial strip, because I've taken half the width of the board out now, and so that's a point where the board could flex. So I put a 4x2 directly underneath this just to stop that from happening, so the table is good and solid and it's nice and easy to put this piece in. Now, like I say, it's a perfect fit, so it's really snug, which is what you want to stop moving around. So we're almost there. What I need to do now is just screw the edge banding back on, my 4x2 edge banding back on all the way around now, and then I need to cut that side, a slot out of that side, so that I can slide in and out Sacrificial strips. So let's get on and do that. Okay, so the last thing we want to do now is just cut this slot out of here so that we can slide in and out our Sacrificial piece. Just set my depth stop for my marking gauge, run a line there, and then we can just cut this. Just like that. And we'll just finish it off with the router plane, so any excuse to use this Veritas router plane, because I really do enjoy using it. So. There we go. Right guys, there we go. That's the Sacrificial strip is now in place, and it's easy just to lift it from this end if I need to, so I can just get a pry bar in there, just pop it up and push it out. So that's what the notch on that side is for, and I can slide in another piece as I need it. So when that gets worn out, I can just replace it, and it saves the top, so it adds to the life of your top, that you're not constantly cutting into your actual top. So there we go, that's that done. Now, a quick question one of you guys did ask me was, what's the story with the router table? What happens if I ever have to replace the MFT top? And am I going to replace the whole router table? Well, no. What I'll do is I'll just set my track up down this end. I'll run a straight cut straight across there off my MFT table. I'll just lift this section out and replace this section, and that will stay there until the router top gets damaged or worn out or anything happens to it. That won't be getting replaced. So it's easy just to run a track cut straight across there and slot in another piece the size of the MFT top, no problem at all. But for now it's all one piece because it's easier to build the frame around one full sheet of plywood. So that's it guys, the router section is done, and the Sacrificial section is done, and the router tabletop part of this multifunction workbench is also done. Right guys, there we go. That's it for this video. We've taken the MFT or the multifunction workbench build project, whatever you want to call it, another good step forward. So our router table section is complete. We have our Sacrificial strip in now for the track saw working on the MFT table, which is great. So that's nice and easy to replace. And we have a good bit to go on this yet. So we have to do the downdraft table section. So I'm deciding on whether to get an extra dust extractor to go along with my record power one. I might get another record power that sits permanently on this bench. I'm thinking about maybe plumbing in a dust extraction system for this actual bench that I can plug in the track saw wherever I want. I can plug in the fence for the router, maybe bottom and top, and any sanders I want to plug in as well. It'd be nice just to have a port that I can just stick the flexible hose straight in. So we're going to think about that. We also have to get power on this table, so whether I come overhead or along the ground with a retractable lead, I'll let you guys know, and I'll do a full video on installing the electrics on this as well, so we have power points anywhere we need it. And we also have a storage section to get underneath of this. So when we build a router cabinet, I need somewhere to store all the attachments for the router. I want all the attachments for my track saw and all my MFT jigs, dogs, anything I get for it. I want a place to store them, and a place to store the fence when I convert everything into, or when I convert it all back to a nice flat assembly table. So we have a good bit to do yet on this. We also have to add some wheels to it so I can wheel it around the shop. My router table over here now is now gone, so that frees up a nice bit of space, so I can push this back and slot it in over there. It frees up a nice bit of floor space here. So yeah, all in all, I'm pretty happy with it. Hopefully you're enjoying it so far, guys. Hopefully you're enjoying the build. If you are, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, think about hitting the subscribe button. And if you want to support the channel, I have a Patreon set up now. So a bunch of guys over there have already signed up. So thanks very much to everybody who signed up to Patreon. It's a nice place to interact with everybody. I can direct message people. People can message me. I can share stuff that I'm doing out on site. It's a nice place to do that because it's quick and easy. I can share small videos and some photos. So I'm sharing some stuff on Patreon of what I do in my day job as an electrician with some of the guys over there, and bits and pieces like that. That's where it's a great medium for doing that. So if you want to support the channel, come on over to Patreon. I'll leave a link below. If you're wondering about anything that's here, all the Sauter gear, I'll link sauter.com below. You can go check out all that gear as well. And yeah, some fine stuff. So that's it, guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed that. I'm going to get out of here now. It's time to get out of this workshop. So I'll see you in the next one, guys. Take it easy.